FOMO, no fear, subscribe, stay sharp, and dance with the stinky socks. Dance with the stinky socks.
Heaven's sakes, don't smoke your socks. Bought some Bitcoin late at night. Woke up rich, that ain't right. Checked again, never mind. Broke as hell, see that line? Maybe risky, maybe wild, but so is betting on Uncle Clyde. Do your research, read your blogs. For heaven's sakes, don't smoke your socks.
Don't smoke your socks.
1, 2, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. Everybody hit that line.
No FOMO, no fear. Subscribe, stay sharp. Don't smoke those stinky socks.
All right, legends, welcome to another live stream. Very few people joining this late live stream. Sorry guys, I've been busy today, busy with other things, but I'm here bringing you the alpha, bringing you the technical analysis. Remember to smash up that like button on your way in if you haven't done so already. Let's put on some background music. There we go. There we go. Right, legends, it is that time of the day. Let's do some technical analysis. See if we can scalp a little long trade here to the upside. Is there a potential for this low to be in, right? Is there a potential for this low to be in? And we're going to get the bounce here back to the upside. Well, legends, today I want to keep the analysis a little bit simple over here. We can go through Elliott Wave theory, which is considered the most difficult trading strategy in the world. Okay, but we can also keep it simple. We can keep it from a simple support and resistance perspective. We can play our little trends back to the upside. So legends, from a simplicity perspective, I've drawn out a couple of support boxes to the downside. Okay, so let me clean this up, show everyone, and you don't even need point of controls or anything like that. You can just see, well, look at how beautiful. If I zoom into this little price action over here, you can see you've got support, right? You dip below, you get acceptance back above, support. You broke down, retested it as resistance, support, support, support. And now again, today, we got support. So proven support over here. Okay, so basically, we bounced on support. Right, now the next small nut to crack here to the upside is resistance. If price can manage to claw its way back here, right, break resistance, trade above, that's a sign of strength, because now you're going to potentially either reject, okay, or you're going to break through, flip it into support, which is referred to as an RS flip. You're flipping resistance into support, and then maybe we break out of this damn trend and we go to our next resistance box to the upside. Right, legends, and I mean, if price does fall or continue here to the downside, okay, we can't just be bullish, right? Because now there's a chance, okay, we are trading below resistance here at the moment. There's a chance that it rejects and it falls to the next level. You've got an order block. Order block also considered as consolidation areas, okay, where price had massive momentum to the upside. It started slowing down, it created a little bit of a consolidation, and it continued the momentum back to the upside. That is what we refer to as order blocks, right? What I have noticed 9 out of 10 times, the little bottoms, the bottoms of these little order blocks are usually the best areas of support. You usually get a bounce at the top of these little order blocks, but they are mostly 7, 8 out of 10 times fake outs. Okay, when you go and backtest these little support and resistances, often what will happen is price will get the initial bounce on top. It will create a lower high and tap the bottom of the order block. Okay. Because where do people put their stop losses? They put their stop losses below recent lows, okay? Below recent lows, lows, right? And that's usually the best area to draw your support boxes to the downside, and then obviously in reverse from a resistance perspective. So if price had to reject over here, right, I do expect this zone to offer a little bit of, well, support, right? We have a support box. Then further down, we have another support box. So, and between, these support boxes, that's where you get the bounce. That's where you get the trades to the upside, to the downside. You short resistance, you long support, you lose resistance, you get a back test, you short, back into support, you take profits, and that's basically how we trade the momentum to the up and to the downside. You can make technical analysis as difficult or as easy as you want. You can do this on the 1 minute time frame, you can do this on the 1 hour daily time frame. They are all over the show, right? Okay, legends. So now if I zoom in here, right, onto the 15-minute time frame, well, now you can see this little box has already been tested as resistance, failed to break out, and we are currently trading below. So there is no strength just as yet. I would rather get into a confirmed trade than trying to speculate on is the low in. Okay, that's just my style of trading. So I want to see price break out. That is a sign of weakness. Okay, I will put my stop below the low and I will target the areas, above, right, for profit taking areas, because I have to take profits at when you start hitting resistance. It's part of my trading rules. Right, legends, but I would rather enter along over here where price is showing me strength than price is trading below resistance at the moment. There's no sign of strength just as yet. Unless you caught the little bad boy here to the bottom. If you caught this price action over here from a swing failure perspective, then by all means, right, your position should already be protected. And by the way, you should already have TP1'd over there. Okay, if you snipe it, this little bad boy over here, and I'm going to show you there was a way to snipe that bad boy to the bottom, this should have already been TP1. Now your position should be protected and you're waiting for higher momentum, or you get stopped out at break even and you benefit from the profits that you've taken over there. Right, legends. From a support and resistance trading perspective, it's not time yet. You have to wait for strength. So there's another trade that you could potentially get in over here. It breaks out, right? It closes at least a 15-minute or a 1 hour candle above. Right? Not because it can leave a wick behind. The body closes below resistance, and then you sit with a situation like this. Okay, so you have to see the body of at least a 15-minute, preferably a 31 hour. The higher the time frame, the better the confirmation. Close above resistance. That is my long trigger. That is my stop loss, TP1, TP2. Okay, so it's a different trading style. It's a different trading technique. And, there's many ways to get into trades, right? If we do break down, let's say we break down, we lose the support, I will be very interested to short the back test if it does come back up for a back test, okay? Because now you lost it and you want to see volume kicking in over here. You lose the support, you back test it as resistance. When you take a fib from the high to the low, it's usually that golden pocket, 50% Fibonacci, 0.382 as a minimum target where you get the rejection and you continue the momentum to the downside. Okay, you're basically just continuing the momentum to the downside. That's how I would get into the short, but you have to be patient. You have to let price come to your area of interest and not FOMO into the trade. Right, legends, I always love to provide a little bit of educational nuggets here for everyone. Okay, there's also 1, 2, 3 altcoins I want to go through. Okay, if you do like day trading altcoins as well, I do have 3 high cap altcoins that I would like to discuss here as well. What they look like from an Elliott Wave perspective, is there a higher chance for the high still to be claimed? Are they corrective? Okay, I want to go through those 3 altcoins and share with everyone. You can see that I have them prepared here on top already. Fetch, I want to look at Fetch, right? Really bullish. And from a macro perspective, I want to look at ETH because it's the queen of all the altcoins, and I want to look at Link. Okay, I really enjoy day trading Link as well. I must be honest, I do day trade Link as well, not as often as Bitcoin, But because of the high market cap, okay, and high liquidity, for me, it's worth it to sometimes trade Link, Solana, you know, your high cap, Fetch, Ethereum. Those are the ones that I will do day trading on as well. But I do 99% of my day trading on Bitcoin. Right. Chainlink broke down. We can go look at it in a moment, right? Was that the breakdown that should have been bought up? That is the question. That is the question. Right, legends. So I wanted to keep it simple here to start off with, just to say, guys, well, you know, it's as easy as resistance and supports. Okay, you don't care where price is going to go to next. Okay, you could potentially say, well, I bought at support, right? You tap support, you buy, you tap support, you buy, your stop loss goes below the low. Now you're benefiting from the momentum. When you hit resistance, you start taking profits. Okay, then you can take it one step further. Okay, you can trade with trend-based fib extensions. This little bad boy, the second one, trend-based fib extension. Okay, this is one of my favorite ways to trade. I love these levels, and it enables me to get in at better levels. Okay, it's one of my favorite ways. And if these levels line up with support boxes and to the up and to the downside, and a resistance to the upside, even better for profit taking areas or to look for short entries as well. Because trend-based fib extension strategies for me are the ones that enables you to catch the little bottoms over here. Okay, it enables you to catch these little bottoms, so you can get into the trades with real good risk management. Okay, so there's a couple of ways in which to measure it. Okay, you don't have to understand Elliott Wave theory to use trend-based fibs. That's the beauty of it. So although some people still consider them a little bit complex, you just need to practice them. You don't need to know Elliott Wave theory. You just need to understand waves. Okay, I can see that there's a pivot. I can see that there's a pivot. I can see that there's a pivot. There's a pivot, right? There's a pivot. The highs and the lows, the pivot and the highs and the lows, that's how you start practicing them. So when I draw a fib from that pivot to that pivot to that pivot, what happens? When I draw a fib from that pivot to that pivot to that pivot, what happens? Okay, are the levels getting respected? Do we get bounces from those levels that I have inside of my fib extension? Okay, right. So legends, the first scenario is, well, if I take a trend-based fib from this pivot, okay, you click it to the low, you click it to the high, you click it, and then you can click it again to drag it across. Okay, so we can see the levels. Right, what I like is that when price tapped the 0.618, look at how beautiful this level was respected. Look at how beautiful, multiple times this level was respected. Okay, then you got a consolidation, you broke down, you got acceptance back above, but then it held as support. So you can see that this fib pool is being respected. So if price drops to another level to the downside, that's where you need to pay attention. So looking at this fib pool, you could have gotten in over here. You dip below, you get acceptance back above, you enter, stop goes below the low, price moves in your favor, you take profits at resistance. Leave some of the position open for higher levels. Right, so this enables you to get slightly better entries. Okay. Then there's another fib pool, right? So this is the first one that I spoke about. Then there's another one. Okay, well, what about this pivot and this pivot to the highs? Okay, then we go and we say, right, from the highs to the lows to the highs. What happened over here? Oh, also 786. Beautiful. Okay, so I could have also played the swing failure pattern there. And you can see here on the 15-minute time frame, we left wicks behind. We did not close. Oh, it's bodies. Sorry, legends. It's bodies. Most probably on the higher time frames, we left wick. Oh, okay. Sorry. No, it's bodies, legends. It's bodies. Right. I've got a mosquito flying around here in the studio, irritating the living hell out of me. Anyways, legends, but you get the point. Okay. When you start learning Elliott Wave theory, this is when the fib pools becomes slightly more accurate. Okay, but you can still use the Fib extensions based on what I've just shown you. You don't need to understand Elliott wave theory. You just need to pull the Fib from one wave to other wave, see if the levels gets respected. If the levels gets respected, you know that, well, if price drops down to a next level, you need to pay attention. I can tell you guys that these levels that I have on my trend-based Fib, the 0, the 618, the 786, the 121, this is what we refer to as the 1-to-1 extension, the 1.236, the 1.382, the 1.618, the most important Fib levels that you can have on your trend-based Fib. If you want the settings exactly the same that I have it, there you go. Take a screenshot and go type it in, make it the same colors. I don't care. Right here are the settings. These are the most important Fib levels because I think the default settings can be a little bit overwhelming and confusing, and it has colors. So you can go and play around with the colors. You can take the shading out in the background. Go and play around with the settings. Get familiar with it. All right. Cool, legends. That was now from a simplicity perspective. Okay. And I went a little bit more technical. Okay. And what else? What else? Now, legends, we're going to take it a slight step further. Okay, we're going to just take it a slightly step further over here. So on the 1 hour time frame, okay, you have a pump to the upside, right? And you have a long consolidation area, right? This is usually retracements. That's what we refer to as retracements. Retracements can happen in two forms, right? Two forms. Maybe there's a third one, but for now, what comes to mind is in two forms. The most important form of a retracement or a correction when the momentum is coming from the downside to the upside is time. Often what happens is you either get a deep correction that makes a higher low and it continues. Okay, that is the most common correction. That is the one that everyone is used to. Yeah, you can see, for example, you fall to the downside, you make a deep correction to the upside, and you continue. Correction, continue. Okay, those are the ones that's better to trade, and those are the ones that everyone is used to. But time is also a very important factor from a corrective perspective, because when you do not get a deep correction, you often get a long correction that does not have to go deep. Okay, and this is where I like to take the time Fib. From the start of the impulse, you click your time Fib, to the end of the impulse, you click your time Fib, and now you can see, well, this impulse and the correction is already more than once, more than one time the length of the impulse to the upside. So this is the time it took for the impulse to complete. And at number 1 means that this is exactly the same amount of time to complete your correction, and it even went beyond the 1-to-1 extension. So when you start seeing a corrective structure that is just chopping sideways, but it doesn't want to go deep, and it starts surpassing the 1-to-1 extension, it can even go to the 2 extension, and it keeps on chopping sideways without taking the lows, because everyone is expecting that drop now, man. Drop, give us the higher low, and then continue. Everyone wants to buy that damn dip, speculating on a 1, 2, 3 year to the upside, and it doesn't come, right? One thing that you have to remember is that time is also a valid correction. Often you will get shallow corrections. Well, more often you will get the deep ones, but sometimes you will get the 4 out of 10 times you will get a long corrective structure compared to the impulse. But it's time that is important. And now we're kind of starting to see the same thing happen where we are right now. Okay, so when we take a time Fib from the start of this impulse over here, we are also just going sideways. Okay, time is a very important factor. Also, when I take a time Fib from the start of the impulse, right? And now this is the debate. Was that the end, or was that the end? Okay, let's take it from this pivot first. If I take the impulse as such, If I consider this as the impulse, you can see that the corrective structure is already twice the length of the impulse. Longer than this one, right, compared to the impulse. If I take the time fib from a different pivot, speculating on, well, what if this was the high? Because it's the highest point of the structure. So from a simplicity perspective, most people will take it from the lowest point of the structure to the highest point of the structure. So let's just keep it simple. So if I take a time fib from the low to the high over here, well, we are at the one-to-one extension. So the impulse and the correction has a balance. It is in harmony. Okay, so there's a chance for this low to be in. And it's going to go and create another leg to the upside. Because the correction has just taken so goddamn long and it just doesn't want to fall. Okay, but now you can also see that if the correction had to start falling, it's going to take even longer. Right. Usually the perfect balance is a one-to-one extension. It can extend to the 2. The 3 already starts becoming questionable. And when a corrective structure starts hitting the 4, okay, then I'm like, okay, right, something's not right. We need to reanalyze the situation. If it keeps on doing this and it keeps on doing this and it just extends and it just extends, it starts hitting the 4 over here. And this is why my 4 is an orange. It's entering the danger zone. Okay, then you start increasing probabilities that you're going to fall down and not claim the highs again. But until such time, the probabilities are still higher to come and claim the high before you claim the low. Okay, so it's still a healthy structure here at the moment. Very frustrating, guys. I must be honest. These sideways corrections are really frustrating. They are difficult to trade. But I can tell you guys now, myself and the Legend Pro community has roped in. I saw some of the Legends, the Pro member community. They've been roping in a lot of successful trades inside of the structure. Okay, also including that live trade we took a couple of days ago where we entered over here. Right, benefiting from the momentum here to the upside. I closed my position there. Some of the people left the position open for higher levels. Some of them took profits here by the 0.88. Right, it was a beautiful trade. There was a nice break of trend. Beautiful trade. This morning, okay, there was another trade that I spoke about in our Legends Pro community. Okay, it was this little bad boy over here. Let me reverse the price action, and this is what transpired. Right. From a simplicity perspective, I said, Legends, this looks nice. Right, this looks nice. And the pro members that are here on the live stream, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? We were trading over here, and I said, Legends, well, what I am looking for is I would like, sorry, I had my trend base, my fib retracement over here as well, okay? And I said, what I would like to see, okay, is a dip into support, because this was now support. We tested it as support. Okay, hold and then break the trend. I'm going to play the breakout, or I'm going to use the Fibonacci levels as swing failure lines. But this is a trading scenario that I'm looking at. Remember, the trend is there if price front runs the zone that I'm keeping an eye on. Price is never going to play out exactly the way that I'm predicting. And what happened is I saw this. Okay, we all know what happened next, but it's just interesting to play out so that we can all learn together, right? That happened. Whoops. Okay, let us just play it out. So what I then did is I played this little breakout. This was my plan. Okay, you play the breakout, front running happened. You always take profits at the high. Very, very important. Stop loss goes below the low, right? Risk to reward is more than a 2. So almost a 3 risk to reward. It makes the trade worth it. Played out to perfection. Broke out, took the high, and this is exactly where I posted, guys. By the way, we're hitting the highs over here. If you haven't taken profits, maybe you want to consider taking some profits over here. Okay, this is exactly, price was over here when I posted this, and I said, Legends, we got front run. I played the breakout. Definitely consider taking some profits over here, and then, well, this happened, right? So if you didn't pay yourself here, speculating that we're going to come and hit these levels above, well, now you are stopped out, hopefully not underwater, because we all trade with stop losses. Okay. Right, legends. So here you can see it doesn't matter what range we are in, we can still make money just applying our trading strategy. It really is as simple as that. Maybe it's too simple for some people, right? Another trend that I was tracking just now is, yes, dare I even go into the 1 minute time frame? Okay, I just want to see if it got invalidated, but I can see it looks like a little bit of a bull flaggy building up over here. But this was one that I was keeping an eye on. Right, that was one just before the stream that I was keeping an eye on. I was like, 1 minute scalping. Oh, okay, right, broke out. What a beautiful retest. Right, stop goes below the low. Maybe there's a nice little trend forming there. It looks like it's breaking out already. Remember about that little bull flag that I always talk about? They happen on all the time frames, right? They happen on all the time frames. You break out, you form the bull flag, okay, the bullish pennant, you break out, you take profits when you start hitting resistance. Yes, it has a chance to smash through, flip it into support and continue. That's why you leave some of the position open. Right, so legends, maybe another trade here in the making. Let's see if this plays out. Right, I am not in any trades at the moment, but maybe I am, but I'm not in a Bitcoin trade at the moment. I will go through the altcoins in a second. Right, legends. I will go through the comments in a second. Okay, and what I want to discuss now is, legends, links down in the description if you'd like to come and trade with me using the best sign-up bonuses and lowest trading fees that these exchanges has to offer. Okay, weeks, they have 20% cash back on the money that you deposit in your features account, and you get 25% discount on your trading fees. I do see that larger account holders, people that trade with like, you know, $10,000 position, $20,000 positions, $100,000 positions, for some reason they prefer bluffing. Okay, the fees are a little bit higher on bluffing, but what I found interesting on bluffing, I just want to read you guys this article that came out on bluffing, is bluffing surpasses top exchanges in standards, performance, liquidity, and broker integration. Okay, Bluffin's trading system outperforms many top-tier global exchanges in key areas including speed, stability, efficiency, and automation. So this could be the reason why people with larger accounts prefer to trade on Bluffin, because of how liquid it is, and also because of how damn awesome the user interface is. Right, so this is an article that was published on, what is this place called? Cointelegraph. This news article came out yesterday. So basically they're starting to outperform some of the other exchanges, and they're becoming best in class amongst all exchanges in the world. So right, I just wanted to share this little bit of good news that came out about Bluffin. If you guys want the best deals on Bluffin, here's the link down in the description. Also, the more you trade, the more money gets airdropped into your account. Okay, Bluffin, they have this funny little thing where, you know, you trade 75k, you get 6 bananas, right? You trade 500k in volume, you can buy a 12 pack of water, right? And then the most 600 million worth in volume, you can lease an apartment. I'm sure that looks like Dubai somewhere, right? Anyways, guys, and then weeks, right? First 100 users get 100 USDT bonus. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Right, first 100 users on weeks gets $100 bonus. Right, go and check out the links, read the T's and C's, sign up, come and trade with me. You also get 25% discount here on weeks. Right, legends, let's see if this little scalp trade is going to play out here to the upside. Would be very interesting to see. Okay, right, this looks, I must say, this looks a bit three-wavy here to the upside. This is the only thing I don't like. It looks very three-wavy here to the upside. I would have liked to see a 4 and a 5, then the correction, then the breakout. But I mean, You could form an A, B, C, right? I don't care actually which structure is forming over here. I'm just applying my trading strategy. Right, legends. Now, what I want to go through on Bitcoin as well is just to go and look at the structure. Okay, so I'm just briefly going to go through that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but now let's take it 10 steps further, because this is now Elliott Wave theory, but I'm going to explain it brief. I'll be bright, I'll be gone. Okay, I'm not going to keep it complex over here. This could be an A, B, C, right? Three-wave structure. ABC. An ABC, what does an ABC give you? It gives you a W. Okay, because a WXY has ABCs inside of them, right? This could be an X that ended in a triangle. You guys can see that little triangle over there. X loves to form triangles. And this could be a three-wave zigzag in a Y wave. Okay. It has to be said that if you count the corrective structure from this pivot over here, you can see how long W is, how long X is, and how short Y is. It's a little bit out of balance. Okay, but there's a chance that Y could be done in a normal zigzag. Worst case scenario is it forms a corrective structure, which it does look like it's forming a corrective structure, but you can still trade the corrective structure to take profits where you're supposed to take profits, and it could form another zigzag to the downside. That would give the structure a little bit more time so that it balances. Okay, there's a nice little balance. That lightning bolt that we're looking for, there's a nice little balance. So I wouldn't be surprised if Y moves a little bit lower. Maybe it comes and taps this little box here to the downside. Interesting level based on this corrective structure that I've just pointed out is that if this is a WXY that is not finished, so let's say this is the W, that was the X that ended in a triangle, and the Y still needs to come a little bit further down. Okay, there's a chance, legends, I just have to say, there's a chance that Y could be done. It's finito. I just don't like on the smaller time frame that I can only count 3 waves to the upside, but we have to give it the benefit of the doubt. Right, if the Y wave is still going to come a little bit further down, you take your trend-based fib from the highest point over here. Trend-based fib, not your fib. Okay, from the highest point to W to X, which is the end of this triangle over here. You drag it across, okay, and you can see, well, price also tapped the 1-to-1 extension. Okay, so the 1-to-1 extension, the 1.236 and the 1.382 are Y wave targets. So it would be very strange for the Y wave to drop all the way here. The 1.618 is a very rare Y wave target. So maybe it's just going to come and tap support again. Maybe grab the liquidity below this low, tap the 1.382, but now you can see it's a little bit more in relationship from a timing perspective. It has a better relationship. This is very short for a Y wave, okay, but the market is here to surprise us because it did tap the 1-to-1, which is also a Y wave target. So there's a chance that Y is in. Okay, so not easy, but now you guys can see. But then there's also, okay, another corrective structure, which is basically, right, this is the top. And this is your WXY. We're just ignoring this little structure over here. Right, you take your fib from the high to the low to the high. You can take the other one out the way. Okay, 786 has been tapped. A little bit more rare for a Y wave, but a target nonetheless. But you still have your 1-to-1 extension and your 1.236 and your 1.382, which is close to support, okay, to the downside. So legends, it's you know, nothing is ever for certain, but I can tell you guys now that if this is a zigzag to the downside, this is forming a corrective structure to the upside, a 3-wave structure to the upside. It can form another zigzag to the downside. That becomes your low. It's more in balance, okay, also better, actually better balance from this little pivot over here, okay, and you form your low and you continue momentum to the upside. I will definitely be keeping an eye on these little levels, okay, because that is where you can play your swing failure patterns. That is where you enable catching those little bottoms to the downside. Good risk management, protect your position as price moves in your favor. So definitely I'll be keeping an eye on this little one-to-one extension. Alternatively, if you don't know how to pull these fib extensions, you look for swing failure from the low. So okay, so let's take this out the way. Keep it simple. Okay, price dips below. Let's say price dips below. There's your low. Okay, you're not interested. As long as price is below your area of interest, you ain't interested. Okay, price gets above. Okay, now it's also getting back above support. Interesting, right? You broke down, you flip this now into resistance, you come back up, you flip it back into support. That becomes a long trigger and also a swing failure pattern from the low. So you guys can see how I can use multiple trading scenarios, okay, to come up with a trading strategy. Elliott Wave theory, trend-based fib extensions, just looking at the pivots from a swing failure perspective, or maybe it's going to form a nice little trend here to the downside. Okay, maybe it forms that nice little trend to the downside, you play the breakout. Okay, many ways to get into this trade, right? But the best way is the swing failure patterns, because they give you the best risk management. Because if you used this low, for example, okay, yeah, you could have gotten in over there with a little bit of a fast stop loss. But if you used your trend-based fib extension, then you could have gotten a better entry to the downside, better risk management. For me, it's always about the risk management. The better the risk management, the more worthy it makes taking the trade. Okay, sorry legends, I'm now curious to see how this is playing out, right? Nice little breakout here to the upside. Okay, A, B, C, this could be forming a C. Okay, this could now be forming the following, right? If this is now forming a corrective structure to the upside, there's a chance that it's just going to break out and rock and roll, and this is the low. Remember what I said, this could be the low over here. Okay, but it could also be, what if this is a B, and it's forming a C here to the upside that basically claims the high of A. Very, very, very common corrective structure target, zigzag. Okay, and this is why it's important to start taking profits. Okay, leave some of the position, 5%, 10% of your position, whatever your strategy is for higher levels. Right, it's just legends here on the 1 minute time frame. I mean, I struggle to count 5 waves here to the upside. I mean, if you force it, yes, you can. Okay, it just looks like a 3-wave structure. So if you now want to force it, you're going to be like, okay, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. Yes, that's an incredibly short 4th wave, okay, compared to how long your 2nd wave is. It's not normal to see it, but it's not an invalidation. So you can force count 5 waves in this structure, okay. If you zoom out, well, then it looks like an obvious 3-wave structure to the upside, okay. 1, 2, 3. Right, it just looks like a solid pump here to the upside. So just be wary that we could form a corrective structure, and that is why it's always just important, you know, apply your trading strategy. When you hit resistance, just take goddamn profits. Okay, if it rock and rolls and it pumps to the upside, so be it. So be it. You got into a successful trade. What more? What more do you want? A successful trade is beautiful. Okay, legends, those are basically the corrective structures that I just wanted to take you guys through over here. That there's a chance that the low is in, or we're still going to form one more low to the downside. It has to be said, maybe, you know, this is what's giving me a little bit of, maybe it's going to continue here to the upside, is that when you have a WXY, either from this pivot where this is your W, this is your X, this is your Y, or you have a WXY from this pivot, a WX, you know, same scenario over here. When you take a fib from this W, okay, and I look at where the X wave ended, the X wave claimed the high over here. Okay, so when your X wave goes this high, it decreases the probabilities that the Y wave is going to take your W and just smack to the downside. Okay, it's not an invalidation, but it's just what most commonly happens. Also, when I take a fib from this high to the low of W, we retrace to the 0.88. Most commonly, if you have a W and you have an X that rejects at the 618 golden pocket that does not tap the 786 and the 0.88. So if you have an X wave that finished a little bit lower, then you have a much increased probability that your Y wave is going to be deeper, claiming W and smack a little bit harder to the downside. But because X retraced so high, there's a chance that the low could be in. It didn't claim the low of W. Ever so slightly. You guys can see it didn't. Right? If I zoom into these two little lows, didn't claim the low. Okay, let me just take this out the way. Right, you guys can see did not claim the low. So there's a chance that the probability for the structure is actually playing out because X went so high, the Y is not going to claim W. There's a chance. Right, but now I have to force count the 5 waves. Like, anyways, the trading scenario has been highlighted. Okay. There was a breakout, beautiful retest, formed the bull flag, breaking up here to the upside. Right, there's your trading scenario. Okay, right. Legends, I also want to discuss a couple of altcoins. Okay, I just want to go and look at these structures, see what are the probabilities, and I'll also share with you, well, which is the one altcoin that I got into. I did not play this breakout, okay, on Bitcoin, but I did get into one of the altcoins. Remember, the altcoins can also be traded with the exchanges that I've just pointed out with the links down in the description, especially if you benefit from those low trading fees. Right, so let me clean this up. Let me put the support back where it belongs. I think that support, just by the way, I'm interrupting myself. I think that support also aligns with the value area low, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Dupe, yeah, nice value area low. You dip below. That's another way to get into a trade, right? Because this is range trading paradise. Range trading paradise, right? You short the tops, you take profits by the lows. You short the tops, you either take profits at the point of control or at the lows. But your point of control always becomes a TP1, right? So now you tap the top, you claim all the way to the bottom, and now you have reclaimed the point of control where the highest amount of volume was traded, which is now potentially a bullish sign, right? So what you would like to see from a probability perspective is it now needs to go back to the top of the range, especially after it reclaimed the point of control. So there's another trading strategy. Legends, there are so many trading strategies, right? You need to just pick the one that works for you, okay? I'm trying to share as many as I can to accommodate as many people as possible over here. Okay, right, Legends, remember to smash up that like button. And maybe before I continue to the altcoins, let me take some comments. Seems like most of the alts are just following BTC. Yes, it is, especially when dominance is climbing to the upside. It just follows Bitcoin, almost to the T. It's when dominance starts dropping, okay, Bitcoin can even correct and go sideways like it's doing now, up and down, up and down. That's where you see the popcorn effects, where, one altcoin just lets loose and it rampages 50% to the upside. You need dominance to drop to break the correlation from an altcoin perspective, for Bitcoin. Right, Dewald HBAR forming inverted head and shoulders in daily, looking spicy. Catalyst, we can go and have a look at some altcoins in a moment. Can you look at Brett? Is Bitcoin going down, dude? Well, for now it's going up. Okay, right. For now it's going up. Basically on all the time frames it's going up. 1 hour time frame, 15-minute time frame. We've just been going up. Basically, we've just been consolidating sideways. Yeah, at the moment. Just want to see something here. Right. There's a chance. Maybe it's going to come and tap the trend. Maybe it goes a little bit more sideways. Who knows, right? Maybe it goes a little bit more sideways, or it does that corrective structure. Okay. Gets the fake out. People start shorting. and then it continues, right? But I mean, this trend has only been tapped twice so far, but the momentum is still up. The trend is your friend until the very end, and so far the trend is up, so it's always in your best interest to look for longs. Okay, that's one-on-one trading side. Trading information is that you know, if you're a 5-minute, 1-minute scalper, you have to always zoom out to the larger time frames to see, well, is the momentum up or is the momentum down? This tells you whether you should favor longs or whether you should favor shorts. Okay, and for now, on the local time frame, on the 1-hour time frame, momentum is up. On the daily time frame, one could argue, well, momentum is down. Let's see. Okay, you are still forming lower highs, so momentum is still down. So depending on what time frame you're trading, so you, from a daily time frame, you're potentially looking for shorts in the zone, and you're going to be patient because you might be playing 1 or 2 trades a month. Okay, right, legends. Let me go through some more comments. One of the best traders on YouTube. Thank you so much for the kind words. Much love to you and your family. Appreciate it. Always appreciate it. Okay. Right. BTC dominance probably going to 72%. Yes, I also have 70 to 72% as the next resistance zone to the upside. It's just not stopping at the moment. Okay. It just does not want to stop. Right, legends. Let's go and analyze a couple of altcoins. Yes, that's how I'm playing it. Thanks. Absolute pleasure, man. Benz Buell. Right, legends, first up is Fetch. Okay, I just want to look at this local structure on the 1-hour time frame. And there's a couple of ways in which I can count the structure, but let's start with a bullish count. So from a bullish perspective, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, to complete the wave 1. Corrective structure in a 2. And now you have a 3 here to the upside. So it still looks like it needs to complete the 4, which is your most common target, is the 0.382, and the 50%, 0.618 is an invalidation to still go make one more high. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is a bullish count, guys. And then you make a 3-wave corrective structure and you continue momentum to the upside. That would be beautiful. For now, until this happens, this is now the bearish case scenario. A, B, C. 5-wave structure in A, 5-wave structure in C. So there's a chance that it's gonna fall to the downside. There is a problem. Okay, so it's not an invalidation, but it does impact the probabilities. There's a problem with this structure. In order for this to be a C wave, and we just fall down and claim the lows again. So good news is there's a problem with the structure. It's not impulsive, it's corrective. So if you see a 1, 2, you need a 3, 4, 5. Where's the 4 and the 5? Instead, you got a 1, 2, 3 wave structure, and now you're going sideways. So this looks corrective, like this one over here. Okay, so for now, based on what I'm seeing over here, just like on Bitcoin, I think the probabilities on Bitcoin, looking at Bitcoin here on the 1-hour time frame, okay, the probabilities are still higher to make one more high. That's just from a probability perspective. At least get a rejection in this zone. So you can at least see that 5-wave structure, and then you can lose the trend and start a corrective structure here to the downside, maybe finding support here above the highs, right? But based on what is happening here, WXY, ABC, long corrective structure, it's hitting the 1-to-1 extension from a timing perspective. It looks like the probabilities are higher to still claim the highs before we claim the lows or start a deeper correction to the downside. Okay. And based on Bitcoin's probabilities, if I now translate this into Fetch, for example, it looks like, okay, it looks like if I now, you know, what's interesting is usually your 4th wave corrections is at least the same length as your 2nd wave corrections, but they can be longer. It's preferred that they are actually longer. So when I measure this corrective structure, how long did it take? Okay, and I overlay it with this one over here, you can see that it's longer. Here's the 1-to-1. Okay, yeah. So your corrective structure in number 4 is already longer than this one. That's what you like to see. You want to see a fourth wave longer than the second one. So there's a chance it would be nice, I'm not going to lie, for this corrective structure to come and tap the 0.382 at least. Okay, and that's basically taking a fifth from the low of 2 to the high of 3. This is the most common, okay, usually a minimum fourth wave target, a maximum fourth wave target. But I have seen fourth waves find support at the 0.236. Right, obviously if Bitcoin is going to rampage here to the upside, right, then the low is in because it's going to follow suit. Let's take the trend-based Fib here out the way. From a simplicity perspective, Dewald, well, how do I trade it? Well, I have a trend in here. I'm going to wait for the break of the trend. We have some resistance to the upside that needs to be cracked, right? And from a swing failure perspective, I mean, look at this. Beautiful swing failure pattern. You get in, stop below the low because you got acceptance back above the low, and now you're just riding the momentum here to the upside. You are starting to hit mini resistance. Can you see the resistance? You are starting to hit resistance over here. So that becomes a profit-taking area. Leave some of the position open. If you do break out over here, you can add, you guys can see, like, even if you leave some of the position open, right, and you see bullish price action, breaking resistance, okay, you can add a little bit back into your position. What will happen is it will just drag your entry up and you can still protect your position. But now you have a larger position size to still benefit from momentum to the upside. So there's a couple of tips and tricks that you can learn along the way to maximize your profits to the upside. There's been many times where I, for example, will enter, okay, let's play it out. It will sometimes happen, okay, where I will play a swing failure pattern from the low. I get acceptance back above, I enter with my stop below the low. I can now see that this becomes a profit-taking area. So maybe I take, let's say 60% profits over here, just as an example. Okay, but then price doesn't stop. It breaks out and it flips the area into support. Then it breaks the trend. I'm like, okay, I'm going to add a little bit to my position. It drags my position up. I still protect it. I put my stop loss above my entry. And now I make more profits here to the upside, right? Again, take profits. Maybe it rejects, it comes and it bounces on the trend, forms that little bull flag. It breaks out. I add again to my position. Can you guys see how you can keep on maximizing your profits to the upside? In the same trade, you just keep on taking profits, adding back, taking profits, but your position stays protected. That's the key. The biggest mistake people make in a scenario like this, okay, where you add, people add too much. They add too much. They don't do their calculations properly. And this is how people lose money. They play it to perfection. You snipe at that entry, right? Like a pro, you snipe at it. You had your stop loss below the low. Price moves in your favor. You follow your rules, you take profit, right? And let's just say this happens. It breaks out, it comes back for a retest. What most traders do wrong is they add too much back into the position and it smacks the entry almost back to where they just added to their position. Okay, now you can't protect your position. Okay, now where do you put your stop loss, right? Maybe you leave your stop loss now here below this little wick over here. And what then happens is price moves against you. And now you give back all the money that you've made here to the upside, you give it back to the market because you were too aggressive, you were too hungry for money, you made money the goal. Okay, right, legends, a lot of education. Remember to smash up that like button. But this is basically what I'm seeing here on Fetch, legends, is it looks like Fetch wants to go and make another. I mean, look at this beautiful breakout over here. I spoke about this breakout when it happened. Beautiful breakout on Fetch. 1, 2, 3. You have the most amount of volume in 3, which is fine. That's what you want to see. Yes, it can be a C wave. There's just a problem with this corrective structure. Not an invalidation, but now, you know, there is an increased probability that it's going to find its feet and still go and make one more high to see a 5 wave structure to the upside. Retrace, okay, find support, golden pocket, Okay, but then your fib is going to change. Remember, when you have a 5-wave structure, your fib changes. Then your fib goes from the lows to wherever that high is. Okay, because when the 5-wave structure is complete, it goes from the top, or from the bottom to the top of the structure. As simple as that. Okay, right, legends. Next up, ETH. Well, the only bullish structure that I see for ETH, and I'm not saying this one is going to play out, is what I have over here. Because at the moment, I mean, let's be honest, this looks like a 3-wave structure. It just smells like a damn 3-wave structure, unless ETH can claim the highs. Okay, for now, this looks like an A, B, C, W, X, Y. I don't care how you count it, it looks like a damn 3-wave structure. Okay, again, fuck, this looks corrective. I cannot see impulses in the structure. Guys, you have to remember, when the top is in, okay, well, let's use this example. Let's say ETH does this. Let's say ETH does that. Okay, it puts in number 5. When ETH fell down here and it created the bottom over here, what you want to see from a bottom is you want to see 5 waves up. Then you know that there's a higher chance that the bottom could be in for now. You're going to make a 3-wave corrective structure and continue. But you need to see 5 waves to the upside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And now this is the problem. So in the smaller time frames over here, the 15-minute time frame, when I look at the structure, okay, where on earth is the impulses to the downside? This can't be a 1, 2, because 2 took the high. It's not allowed to, right? It has to make a lower high. It has to make a lower high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no 5-wave structure to the downside. Okay, it's just ranging, which increases the probabilities that this is corrective and the high is going to be claimed again. Okay, when someone tells me this is the high and we're going down, I want to count impulses to the downside. So even from this little high, okay, I am, unless you guys can show me something, join our community on Discord and show me if you can count a berry structure here. 1, 2, this retracement went too deep. Okay, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Third wave is the shortest, not allowed in Elliott Wave theory, because I know some people is going to say, Dewald, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, corrective structure A, B, C. Now this is the third wave. You're going to go down and make a 4th wave. Now you have an expanding structure. Well, you could still form a contracting, but there's your problem. There's a problem. 1, look at how long 1 is, and look at how long 5 is. 3 is your shortest wave, not allowed. Okay, so there's problems. If you want to count this as an impulsive structure to the downside, there's problems inside of here. It looks corrective. Okay, right, nothing's ever guaranteed, legends. I just have to put that disclaimer out there. Nothing's ever guaranteed. I'm just saying, well, what I'm seeing from a corrective structure perspective is, but you can also see after this impulse, look how long the corrective structure was. Massively long. Then you have this short impulse, and now you have a long corrective structure, right? But when I connect 1 to 3 with a trend line, and I take 1 to 4 with a trend line, it's forming a contracting pattern. Okay, contracting, you guys can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Larger corrective structure, you'll take your trend base fib from the low to the high of the structure, and then your corrective structure has to finish after the 0.382. So if this had to play out, legends, is what I will do is I will take my time fib from the low to wherever this high is going to end. I don't know where this high is going to end. Let's just say it does play out over here, right? Snap it on. Your corrective structure has to correct this impulse, and your corrective structure has to finish after the 0.382. One thing I do want to point out is in contracting diagonals, okay, most contracting diagonals that I have seen on Bitcoin and most of the altcoins as well, when you form a contracting diagonal, the corrections are usually very short and they end like literally after the 0.382. You get that three-wave structure and it continues back to the upside. I have seen in contracting diagonals that the corrections are very short. It doesn't go that far to the 1-to-1. When you have a normal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the corrections can take very long and they can just correct and correct and correct and correct and correct sideways. Right. So if this is going to play out more or less the way that I've drawn it over here, right, you're basically looking at after the 12th of May, you want the corrective structure to be done. Okay, because each impulse has to correct itself. That's the rule. There's no ways around it, right? There's just no ways. Unless unless. What if ETH does this and everyone's like, Dewald, what happened to the contracting diagonal? Well. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. Always a possibility for a double 1, 2. Okay. I just want to see if I take a trend base, because there's a couple of rules that needs to be followed. If I take a trend base fib extension from the low of 1 to the high of 1, and I want to go measure how high is 3, well, perfect. This little pivot ended after the 1-to-1 extension. In Elliott Wave theory, it is preferred that if you do form a double 1-2, that your second 1-2 is smaller than your first 1-2, which it is, literally just shy of the 1-to-1 extension. That little pivot for me is still part of the corrective structure. This looks like an A, B, C, W, X, Y, right? You have normal zigzag here, and Y, you have an A, B, C, W, X, Y. It's very similar to Bitcoin's corrective structure. Right, legends, if price breaks down, okay, you could still have a double 1-2, right? 786 is your maximum target when you take a fib from the high to the low. But then it's not going to be a contracting diagonal anymore. As soon as your channel becomes a parallel channel, as soon as, because, you know, let me show you guys a trick over here. Contracting diagonals have a rule, okay? Let's take this out the way. Let's clean it up. If you take a parallel channel, Mr. Parallel Channel, you connect it at the top of 1 to the top of 3, and you drag it to number 2, okay? Your fourth wave is not allowed to tap the bottom of the channel. As soon as your fourth wave taps the bottom of the channel, your contracting diagonal is invalidated. Just to put it simply. Okay, so that's your invalidation. Right, so for now, that could be the low, but you can see it can still bounce here on support. Okay, and still be a valid contracting diagonal with another fifth wave here to the upside. Right, legends, next up, remember to smash up that like button. Dewald Mark Dutch, welcome, Mr. Mark Dutch, right? CRV is flying. We can go and have a look at some altcoins in a moment. CRV is flying. Can you check VRA? I hear you, Alex B. Legend, smash that like for the education. Yes, please do so. It's your ways to show support and love towards the channel. It helps the YouTube algorithm spread it to people that have not seen my content before. And let's have a look at Link. Right, legends, remember all of these altcoins and Bitcoin can be traded with the links down in the description. On week's first 100 users get $100 USDT bonus. Also get 25% discount on your trading fees, right? And also the money that you deposit in your features account, guess what? You get 20% of that back in cash to trade with for free. Right, Bluffin, I've given you guys the big spiel about Bluffin, all the bullish news that came out on Bluffin, but you know, I have seen that these are for larger account traders, right? The more money you trade, the more money gets airdropped back into your account. All you need is an email and a password to trade with both of these exchanges. It's also your way to support the channel. Okay, legends, now, this is the trade that I got into. Okay, you might be saying, well, Dewald, it didn't break any trend or anything like that. But, well, right, let's discuss it. Let's discuss Mr. Link over here. Link are one of my favorites that I do like to day trade. Right, it has a lot of liquidity and it has a lot of volume behind it. And it's also a nice little old altcoin that we're all familiar with. It also has beautiful Elliott Wave scenarios. It respects trends very well. It respects levels very well. And this is why I sometimes like to day trade Link. It's one of my preferred. And for those of you that have watched my Back to the Future live stream where I've back tested my D-line strategy, that was done on Link. Okay, so if you do like to trade altcoins instead of Bitcoin, Link is one of those that I really prefer as well, because it really respects levels very well. Okay, so from a bullish case perspective, you guys can see very similar to ETH, very similar to Fetch. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a wave 1, 3-wave corrective structure. Extended 1, okay, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. Okay, you have a 1, 2, look, a nice little deep correction, shallow deep correction for 2, very normal. 3, 4, 5 to complete your wave 3. And now this could be part of a normal A, B, C to complete your 4th wave. And now we're looking for another leg here to the upside to go and complete the 5th wave. Okay, so from a bullish case perspective, you want to see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You do not want to lose the 50% Fibonacci. Okay, so if price falls down here, this is your maximum target. $13.64 is your maximum target for a 4th wave to still create one more leg here to the upside. Come and claim all of these highs, potentially even hitting $16, $16.50 to the upside. Right after a 5-wave structure, what you would like to see is a beautiful 3-wave corrective structure. From a timing perspective, needs to finish after the 0.382, and maybe we get one more explosive leg here to the upside. Right, bearish case scenario. Okay, can you guys see the similarity between everything? This is an ABC, done. Right, 5 waves in an A, 3-wave corrective structure in a B, 5 waves in a C. Now you want to see impulses to the downside. Well, it doesn't really look impulsive to at the moment, because it's still holding itself. It's still respecting the FIB levels. Well, and this is where I got into the long. I used the 0.382 as an SFP line. I love to do this sometimes as well. And I also, the pro members know I love to do this as well. So when I saw Bitcoin absolutely falling here to the downside when the news hit today, but I was looking at Link as well. Link fell down. And I was, my alarm went off. I was like, this looks nice. It got acceptance back above. I entered with my stop below the low. Now I have the trend that I'm tracking as well, but I'm also acknowledging the resistance. That now becomes a TP1 for me, because it can come resistance, diagonal, and reject. So that must be a TP1 for me. TP1, if it successfully breaks out, okay, and it comes back for the retest, that is where I add back into my position. Maybe there's another bull flag that forms over here. I play that breakout. Right, so now you guys can see how I trade, right? Why it's important for me to take profits at certain areas. Because if I don't take profits here and it rejects and it comes to the 50%, then I'm losing all the money that I've made here to the upside. Okay, if it breaks out successfully, okay, well, the back test becomes a load up zone for me again. But again, I will load up in such a way where my entry, okay, moves up a little bit, where I can still protect it. It's very important for me to still protect my cash, so that I don't add too much cash to my position that drags my entry all the way back to where I'm adding to my position. And now you're like, oh shit, what if it makes one more low and it stops me out, and then I'm out the trade and it leaves without me? Now where do I put my stop loss? And then, you know, now you're like, okay, let me just leave my stop loss here at the bottom. So you've taken profits, you've added to your position that dragged your entry all the way back down, and then you get stopped out and you give back all your profits back to the market. Right, so you have to be you have to calculate, right? You have to calculate. You don't add too much to the position, or just don't fucking add to the position, right? Just don't. Just let the trade play out. Leave your 10 or 5% open and let it run, right? Take profits where you're supposed to take profits. So legends, these are basically the altcoins that I am checking at the moment. So I see a lot of people, only 28, dang, 28. Wow, Dewald, I've had the same entry on Link like you. It seems like I've learned a lot here, but sadly already took all my profit and now I add it and probably it's going to take my SL now. Right, well, it's still pumping here to the upside, right? It's still pumping. It looks like it's still going here to the upside, but I am acknowledging the resistance. And it has diagonal resistance. So you have diagonal resistance and horizontal resistance, and horizontal resistance always takes preference over diagonal resistance, always. Okay, horizontal resistance is much stronger than diagonal resistance, but when they cross like that, it becomes very powerful and could potentially reject dismally over there, right? It could reject, form either a higher low and then break out, or it just falls and jumps to the 50% Fibonacci, where I will be doing the exact same thing that I did over here. Okay, right. Cool, legends, let's go and look at something else, right? So let's use the ETH tab. I know that there's been a lot of requests for HBAR. HBAR, let's go check it out. Why is it not? There we go. Let's take the brushes out. Okay, 1 hour time frame. Let's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That could work. Right, legends, just trying to make sense of it. Okay, this is why I like to prepare these things before the time, because sometimes I will spend hours on a chart measuring the waves, counting it. So when I do freestyle like this, this is basically I haven't had time to measure all the levels and everything properly. So if I do get it wrong, please don't crucify me. But very similar structure to Link and to Fetch, very, very similar structure. Okay, so I can count 5 waves in one, but from a bearish case scenario, this could also be an A, B, C that finished over here. Question for me now is, can I count 1, 2, 3? Yes, 3, third wave. 4, 5. Yes, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Third wave is not allowed to be the shortest, so I have to go and measure it out. So I take a trend-based fib. So you guys see, this is how I make sure that I've got the count right. Okay, beautiful. Third wave tapped the 2 extension. So it's longer than the first wave, which means it's a valid count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Third wave is not the shortest. Beautiful, it balances. Now this looks like it's all part of a ABC here to the downside. Right, now the question is, can the low be in? From a timing perspective, I want to see from this high to this low. Okay, put it on this high and see how long. Okay, it's almost at the 1-to-1 extension, almost, but it is past the minimum target. Beautiful, right? It would be nice to make one more low after the 1-to-1 extension, but it doesn't have to. Okay, I just want to say it doesn't have to. Right, now what I want to see over here from a corrective structure perspective is you take a fib from the high to the low to the high, which, oh damn son, we tapped the 1.236 to perfection, right? Corrective structure, 3-wave structure target, 1-to-1 extension, 1.236, 1.382 maximum, 1.618. You guys need to learn these levels. You'll do yourself a massive favor by learning these levels. 3-wave corrective structure targets, what are they? Third wave targets, what are they? How do you measure your 5th wave to the upside? Okay, these targets can become powerful swing failure targets if you know how to play swing failure patterns. But I mean, look at this, swing failure from the 1.236, beautiful. You enter, stop goes below the low, position should now be protected. You have a free trade to the upside. From a simplicity perspective, okay, there's your trend. You need to wait for that trend to break out, and then you have also this little bad boy. right? The aggressive one here to the downside. You can wait for the trend to break out. You do have obvious resistance, exactly the same as Link. Okay, you have a little bit of resistance over there, right? So maybe it breaks out, it becomes a TP. If you played this little long over here, you were lucky enough to jump in, okay, and it breaks out, does a retest, continues, this becomes always a TP1, right? TP2. TP1, TP2, always, guys, always. A good trader always has at least 2 TPs, if not 3, or, you know, I very seldom have 4 TP profit-taking areas. Right, so that is the technical analysis on Mr. HBAR. Same day, Dewald is human, but we all know he is AI generated. Beautiful, Mr. Mark, beautiful. But Koen is there. But is Koen's here in the live stream? Is he here? Right, I don't see him. Dewald, are you not in Twitter? I used to be, but I must be honest, guys, I'm not very active in Twitter, but I do have an account, and I will share the details in the description if you guys would like to follow me. But, you know, I spend most of my time inside of the Discord Legends community, inside of trading, and I'm not really a social butterfly. Right. Okay. Hi, Mark. A hot but cloudy rainy season. Okay, cool. Right. VRA. Let's go and look at VRA. He's in Dubai. Oh, Koens. Yes, Koens went to go and attend the 2049. I know Andy's there. The team is there. I unfortunately couldn't make it. I have some personal commitments here in South Africa. Definitely will make it the next time around. So I do remember Koen said he was going to go to the 249 as well. I hope him and Andy and the team bump into each other. That would be absolutely amazing. I would have loved to personally meet Koen face to face. One of the people that's really taught me a lot about Elliott Wave theory. Loads of boats and loads and boats and loads of respect to Mr. Koen. I really respect his work, and it's nice to follow someone that actually knows what the hell they're talking about. Okay, right, legends. VRA. Is it Veracity? Okay, so this little bad boy over here, is it Veracity? Let's see. Yeah, Veracity. Okay, 1 hour time frame. Let's look at Mr. Good Looking over here. Whoosh. Yeah, not an easy structure from an Elliott Wave perspective, but I mean, what I can see over here is, let's just keep it simple, legends. Let's keep it simple. Obvious resistance, okay? Red. You can keep your resistance boxes the same color if you want. I like to make resistance red, because then I know it's resistance, and my support boxes I like to make blue, but you are hitting some resistance over here, right? There's also more selling pressure kicking in over here. It's difficult for me to count. I'm going to have to spend a little bit more time here from an Elliott Wave perspective, but look at this. You've made a lower high, okay, but the trend is still up. So still a bullish trend. The momentum is up, still in your best interest to look for longs. Where price is at the moment, unfortunately, like with Fetch, like with Link, okay, they are actually in buying zones. These are buying zones because you're making lows. You have a trend that has not even broken out. Veracity, on the other hand, is in a no trading zone. Okay, it's not here. Link and ETH and Fetch is over here. Okay, so for me, Veracity is in a no trading zone. It's actually hitting resistance at the moment. And if it can flip the resistance, by all means, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe it makes another fifth wave here to the upside. And then you'll have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe it forms a contracting diagonal. Who knows? But the structures are still a little bit young over here. But this, I mean, you can see, guys, it's hitting resistance here at the moment. Also, when I zoom into the smaller time frames, okay, there's no trading opportunity for me here. There's nothing, right? Your trading opportunity was here. There was your trading opportunity. Okay, this doesn't make sense to me. And when something doesn't make sense, I will go look at something else that does make sense so I can apply my trading strategy. Can it continue up? Who knows? Is it going to smack back down while we are at resistance? So there's a chance that it's going to smack back down. Right, but this is unfortunately not a trading zone for me. If I look at Link, for example, looks way sexier from a longing perspective. If I look at VRA, it's hitting resistance. So, I mean, I can do some higher time frame analysis, but I will leave the higher time frame analysis for another live stream. Okay, but also, let me see this. I mean, yeah, this was such a beautiful break of trend. Look at that. I mean, this was your opportunity to get in. Beautiful, beautiful trade, right? But you missed it. There was your trading setup. 2.15 risk to reward. You take the highs, always a profit-taking area, and now you're hitting major resistance to the upside. So TP1, TP2, you should actually now be out of your long trade. Right, maybe you leave some of your position open, it breaks out, and it flips the area into support. Okay, maybe it forms another nice little trend over there. Then you can play the breakout again, like you did over here. So if I cannot apply my trading strategy inside the zone, I don't trade it. Okay, right, legends, thank you so much for joining the live stream. I hope to meet Koen this summer in France, and I'll plan for Dubai next year. Yeah, Mr. Ice Cube, I'm definitely going to Dubai, maybe even this year and next year. But I do go to Dubai frequently. But if I am in Dubai, I will let you know. You will know when I'm in Dubai. I'll most probably do a collaboration with Andy and the team, and we'll be live together on live streams. So if you are in Dubai, when I'm in Dubai, I'm happy to go for, a cocktail or a beer or a coffee or a tea, whatever you prefer, maybe some sparkling water, right? I will definitely meet up with you guys. And if there is anyone here from South Africa that is here on the live stream, you'd like to hook up, meet up somewhere, just have a little bit of a chit chat, I'm always game. Right. Legends, thank you so much for joining the live stream. Remember to smash up that like. Hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers for now.